GM just significantly revised its EV production for 2023 downwards by almost 50%. Now saying the production numbers they're going to achieve next year, they'll achieve in 2 years. At UBS, Ford and General Motors were just downgraded, as a likely recession reduces sales forecasts for both of those companies. The rising risks of recession, especially in Europe, drew concern from the bank's analysts, with each expected to feel significant impacts on both top and bottom lines in the coming quarters. However, this was the biggest red flag for me. UBS does not see significant upside for the EV business for both companies in the near term. 2023, right, it's meant to be the year when General Motors, Ford, and all the others are going to come into North America, the US and Canada, and they're going to crush big Tesla. They're going to take them down once and for all. But there's actually a few very compelling reasons for why this won't happen. Not emotional reasons, factual, logical, practical reasons for why the opposite, in fact, is more likely to occur. This might come as a shock to you, but if you actually look at the reality of what is happening now, Tesla will more than likely double its United States production in 2023, and it will lower its cost per unit. The three biggest hindrances to Tesla's success in the US will soon be removed. And frankly, I do believe General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, and Toyota for sure, should all be very concerned that their plans are not going to go quite the way they think they are. On the 7th of June, it was reported that Texas excluded Tesla from its extensive electric vehicle rebate program. This is in addition to the US $7,500 tax credit. Tesla doesn't use franchise dealerships to sell its EVs, so they can't be sold legally in Texas, and they won't get the rebate. Well, guess what? Soon, that will have to change. This is why. People have stopped talking about the reality right now, which is that Tesla has a big problem in the United States. A big problem. They still can't sell their cars in many states. I mean, it's crazy enough that they just built one of the biggest factories in the world in Texas, and they can't legally sell electric cars in Texas. But something is happening right now that no one has noticed. When I say no one, I mean literally no one. You just have to connect the dots and you'll see what's about to happen. It's all about to change. And I don't think Tesla or Rivian or Lucid or anyone else needs to actually take people to court anymore. This will happen as a result of something outside of their control. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. Welcome to all the new subscribers, and welcome back everyone else. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon, and we've got some new members, YouTube members. I think we now have more than 180 YouTube members. If you want to be a member, you can see some of our videos in advance, around about one a day, I believe. I'll put a link in the description below to our members page. It does support us as well, and to our Patreon page as well. Thank you to our new Patreon members as well for coming on board. I really appreciate you guys. And what am I talking about here? Well, I think this is really important because people don't recognize the fact that Tesla has had two major disadvantages. In fact, so has Rivian. Well, not Rivian's had one, Lucid's had one. Tesla, though, has had two major disadvantages over the past 12 months. They've still been able to do incredibly well in the United States. That is, their vehicles haven't qualified for the electric vehicle incentives of, well, $7,500 US, which is, I mean, Aussies, guys, that's like more than $11,000. Imagine if your car didn't get the $11,000 incentive here in Australia and another brand did. Imagine the disadvantage that Tesla would be at in Australia. That gives you some context. You need to put that into context. That's a huge amount of money. And Tesla hasn't been able to get that, where it was pretty much everyone else has had those subsidies. The other disadvantage is Tesla has this ridiculous rule making it so hard for people in many states in the US to buy their vehicles as a result of not being able to buy online. So yeah, you can drive outside of your state, go to somewhere else and buy it outside of your state, and then go through all this rigmarole and all these challenges to, be able to use it in your state and transfer it over and all this other stuff. But it's difficult. It's just another deterrent for people to buy a Tesla vehicle, aside from all the ridiculous negative media, which is mostly clickbait, unfortunately. However, a digital shift is occurring right now, which is changing this. Dealer groups are adjusting as more customers turn to omni-channel sales. Dealer groups. What does that mean? Well, Legacy Auto, basically the exact people trying to prevent Tesla from competing against them because they're scared, starting to do something that is very much going to be in Tesla's favor. Some of America's, or some of the United States' top public dealership groups said at least half of their transactions involve some online activity. So, what's happening is, rapidly, dealers are selling online. But people don't realize this is happening, so they don't realize that Tesla and Lucid and Rivian don't really need to continue to fight this battle in court because it's happening organically. The United States' public dealership groups say they have seen continued digital sales growth in the third quarter, with some retailers selling thousands of vehicles through online sales platforms and others reporting at least half of their transactions involved some online activity. Lithium Motors, Inc. said its Driveway online sales platform retailed and wholesaled more than 10,300 vehicles in the quarter ended September 30, generating more than $290 million in revenue, or nearly 4% of the retailer's total quarterly revenue, CEO Brian DeBoer said last month. These guys, they're all part of this system, right? And if they all eventually sell online, well, you can no longer say Tesla can't do it, can you? You have to change. These states are going to be forced to change. Basically, the very dealership groups who oppose Tesla selling online are beginning to do exactly what they've been opposing, which is kind of hypocritical and ironic. DeBoer said that more than 30,700 vehicles had been retailed so far in 2022 using Lithia's e-commerce tools. Many of those transactions didn't include a test drive. Interesting to see that. Now, I did the same thing. I bought an EV without having a test drive. I do believe that there is becoming a greater portion of the consumers that are getting more comfortable with the idea of a vehicle being delivered to home and not test driving a car. In other words, more and more consumers in the United States are getting used to the Tesla model, buying online and having the car delivered straight to them. ClickLane, the digital sales tool developed by Ashbury Automotive Group, Inc., another group in the United States, is predicted to produce $1 billion in revenue in 2022 and $2.2 billion in 2023 by selling direct, Dan Clara, Ashbury's Senior Vice President of Operations, said last month. CEO David Holt said he expects 45 to 50% of Ashbury sales to occur using the ClickLane platform within 2 years. So they're saying 50% of one of the biggest dealer groups in the United States will be selling direct to the public digitally, right? So Texas, yeah, how long will it take for them to go, yeah, well, everyone else is doing it. Okay, it's fine. That range, Holt said, is the critical mass at which Ashbury would consider changing compensation, staffing, and hours at physical stores. There's a revolution happening. It's happening everywhere, selling direct. One of the good things about this, I think it will actually make the experience much better. Personally, I don't want to waste my time going to a dealership and getting spammed and told, oh, you need to buy this extra feature, to get this extra pack. You know, Volkswagen loves that kind of stuff. BMW, Audi, Mercedes, they love this packs. Buy an extra pack. Oh, sorry, no, we can't sell you that car because it doesn't, the cars we have, they all have these extra packs. They've got this X pack, they've got luxury pack X, they've got luxury, and you're thinking, wow, I want the car. All right, I'll get the pack. You know, do you really want that? No, you don't. You want to get what you just want to go online, click the options you want, and if you don't want it, don't click them and press buy, and that's it. It's done. It takes you 10 minutes or an hour, depending on how long you want to spend thinking about it. More than 90% of ClickLane customers in the third quarter of this year were new to Ashbury, and the platform converted customers at more than twice the rate of a traditional internet lead, executives said. In other words, this works. Ashbury said it sold 6,817 vehicles through ClickLane in the third quarter, an increase of 13% from 2021, and an all-time record quarter. In other words, you know what? Brands are starting to go, oh, hang on a minute. We could sell more cars if we allow direct sales. Group 1 Automotive Inc. also set an all-time record by selling 7,600 vehicles through its digital platform in the third quarter. COO Daryl Kenningham said last month that equated to 11% of Group 1's US retail sales, also a record. Guess what? Sales of vehicles in the US, they're actually not going that well. But somehow, these companies who are selling direct digitally, they're doing better. They're selling more cars. Isn't that interesting? Nearly 3 in 4 customers used Acceleride for some part of their transaction in September, Kenningham said. Group 1 is working to integrate Acceleride with its dealership management and customer relationship management systems and credit tools. In other words, the dealers will make their cut and people will just buy it online. We continue to test it in several dealerships and expect a full rollout in the months ahead, he said. Our early results are very positive. We expect this will provide faster and more transparent transaction for our customers. Now, it's interesting that this is happening right now at the same time that the FTC is targeting bait and switch pricing. Automotive News said, a Federal Trade Commission proposal for regulating hidden and unexpected fees follows an earlier plan to do so within the auto retail industry. Now, if you just buy direct digitally online, they can't do this to you. You can't get these bait and switch tactics happening to you. So, this, in my opinion, can solve that problem. I see it like this. If the United States government just said, okay, everyone, you can sell direct online. Those who don't do it, they'd suffer. And they'd have to start competing with everyone else, wouldn't they? This would be the easiest solution, in my opinion, to bait and switch tactics, to people feeling like they're getting scammed by dealerships. Penske Automotive Group Inc. uses a mix of digital channels across its operations, CEO Roger Pence said, including its preferred purchase program, automakers' branded digital programs, and Penske's proprietary site, also in the United Kingdom, doing the same thing. In the third quarter, digital sales represented approximately 5% of our total unit sales, Penske said last month, with Penske reporting that it retailed 110,000 new and used vehicles during the quarter. That works out to about 5,500 vehicles coming from digital sales. Now, I've just shared with you a small fraction of the digital sales because I'm not going to go into it, I'm going to bore you to death. It's happening everywhere, all over the United States, across multiple companies. Digital sales are at all-time records. Companies are doing really well. If they sell digitally online, if they don't, they're falling behind. Clearly, this means one thing in my view. I believe Tesla will do something interesting next year. First of all, they're going to ramp up production at the Fremont factory. Big time. On the same production lines, going to get at least 30% more production. Same thing as what happened in Shanghai. That's going to allow them to have more vehicles to sell to more people. They're going to reduce the prices. And then what they're going to do is this. Notice one thing, right? Sales of Tesla's vehicles are incredibly good in California. And I think one of the reasons for that is there's no hindrance. You can buy a Tesla vehicle. In Texas, it's hard. There's a hindrance. Many states in the US, there's this hindrance. And ironically, coincidentally, many of those states have very low vehicle sales of Tesla vehicles. Very, very low. Now, there could be a reason for this, but it could be that it's difficult for the average person, the average 65, 70, 80-year-old, to buy a Tesla vehicle in those states, and they think, you know what, it's too hard, and they don't bother. But when this all changes, which I believe it will in the next 12 months, as a result of what I've just explained to you, Tesla will have removed that barrier, or at least the dealership unions will remove that barrier because they'll have no choice. They're removing it for themselves. Therefore, it has to be removed for Tesla, Lucid, and Rivian, their competition. That should enable Tesla to get more of a foothold in many of these markets where they are pretty much non-existent across some of those many states in the US, especially where EV adoption hasn't really happened yet. So in my view, electric vehicle adoption for Rivian, Lucid, and Tesla will spike pretty dramatically, but only one of those companies is really in place to take big advantage of that. That is the one producing millions of EVs next year. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you again. Bye-bye.